right at this moment, the government and the corporations are dismantling productive industry in, say, Michigan and Indiana, like closing GM plants and so on, and sending the production abroad. Or they're doing that. That's one thing they're doing. The other thing that's happening is that Obama's transportation secretary is in Europe, in Spain, using federal stimulus money, namely taxpayer money, to try to get contracts for Spanish firms to provide high-speed rail that the United States needs. Can you think of a better thing? I mean, it's hard to think of a more dramatic criticism of the state corporate socioeconomic system. Here are communities and workforces being destroyed while their tax money goes to purchase in Spain what they could be producing themselves. Take, say, the workers in Gary, Indiana, or Flint, Michigan, and so on. Do they have to just sit and watch this happen? No. They can take over the workplaces, the factories. They can run them themselves. They can convert them. It's been done before. It was much greater conversion during the Second World War to wartime production. They'll need state support for that, because that's the only institution that exists, and the only one that people can influence. Can't influence a private tyranny. You can influence the government. It's often been done. It would take some support, nowhere near as much as bailing out Goldman Sachs and so on. But it would take some. It would take a lot of popular support, but it can be done. It can even be done within the framework of conservative economic theory, which is pretty straight about this. Well, you read textbooks on corporations that say, well, it's not graven in stone that they should work only for the benefit of shareholders, which means a tiny percentage of wealthy shareholders. They can work in the interests of stakeholders, meaning workforce and community. And they're not going to decide to do that, but the workforce and the community can decide it for them. Those are perfectly feasible efforts. In fact, it's been done. There are cases where it's been done. There's cases where it's even been tried on a very large scale, like U.S. Steel, and came close to succeeding. These are real organizing strategies which combine short-term efforts which confront real problems that people face in their everyday lives with long-term objectives, like creating part of the basis for a society based on free association, solidarity, popular control, and so on. And it's sitting right there in front of our eyes. Those are, in my view, are the things we should be looking at, not abstract questions like, should we try to destroy the state, for which we have no strategy. And, my feeling is that's the direction in which, kind of direction in which thinking ought to move. It doesn't mean giving up your long-term goals. In fact, that's the way to realize them. And if there's another way to realize them, I've never heard of it. There's a very large number of people who are committed sincerely and rightly to the kind of long-term objectives that anarchists have always tried to uphold. And the question is, why can't we get together and decide on, and instead of condemning one another for not viewing things exactly the way we do, why can't we try to formulate concrete proposals which combine two properties? One, dealing with the real problems that people face in their immediate daily lives. If you're going to get anywhere, you're going to have to deal with those. It's not just for tactical reasons, it's also out of simple humanity. So on the one hand, those, while maintaining as your guidelines the conception of the kind of just and free society that you would like to bring into being through these steps. And sometimes the two are very close together, as in the case that I mentioned. like takeover of productive enterprise by workforce and communities, which is not, it's a feasible objective, and one that has a great deal of appeal, would have if it were put forward, as do others, and combines both the long-term vision and the short-term dealing with real existing grievances and problems. And there are quite a few things like that. So the question is, why not focus on that rather than on abstract questions, such as, what's the best strategy for destroying the state? Answer, well, no best strategy, because nobody's proposed any.